if you can't tell me what's wrong, that doesn't magically make the problem your fault.
And we're going to talk about how you do this. How do you actually take these 3 steps and make it so that you don't live your life annoyed and irritated and resentful and angry at your partner? 3 seconds of laughter can shift someone's mood entirely. And then you can get into deeper emotional things. Don't underestimate the power of laughter. I'm Dr. Arit. This is Paul. We are talking about connection and disconnection.
So these are like tangible, concrete paths that you can take towards charging your relationship battery, towards engaging with each other and feeling more close and connected to each other.
A lot of times what you're going to hear about coupling is that you should have good communication. And good communication is totally a part of this. But a lot of times when people say we're just not communicating, what they actually mean is we're not connecting.
If there's you, me, and the entity that is the relationship, then for me, I would say that connection is the state of energy flowing into the relationship becoming healthier, the relationship becoming more strong. If you want to think of it as a battery, the relationship is being charged.
So basically, I want you guys to start thinking about, what does connection look like? What does it look like for you? And before we talk about the types of connection, to also take a moment to talk about disconnection, right? Disconnection, when that energy of the circuit is cut, where there isn't flowing between us and isn't flowing into us. We're not energizing each other. And it feels like you miss each other.
If there's something that is wrong with you, there is something that you don't like about the relationship, if there's something that's taxing you, burdening you in the way we do things, that is my problem. Like, I am stuck to you. I am wedded to you literally for the rest of my life. And your problems are my problems. That's part of what I like about monogamy, is that I have committed, you have committed to making your problems my problems and vice versa. So
we get our strengths and we get our weaknesses, and we get the strengths of the dynamic and the weaknesses of the dynamic.
If you can't tell me what's wrong, that doesn't magically make the problem your fault, right? I can't just say, well, until you can tell me what's wrong, I'm just going to go sulk in the corner.
Yes. We're going to get a little bit more concrete now.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about how you do this. How do you actually take these 3 steps and make it so that you don't live your life annoyed and irritated and resentful and angry at your partner? So the very first step is choose a signal. So some ways that you can signal, hey, I feel disconnected, I want to feel connected, is to say, I miss you.
I'd like to spend quality time with you.
That one works. Okay, more examples.
You could just do like a sign, like, ah.
Or...
That was too rude.
You can do a sign like, doki doki.
That's a positive sign, right?
Yeah. You could do a sign like, want doki doki. You can say, beep. Pamper me. You could say connection. You could say disconnection. You could literally come up with a random emoji to text. You could literally make a random noise.
I think the important thing is, and this is true of your philosophy more general, right? Couture coupling, pick something that works for you.
Yes. And something that is humorous is also really, really great.
Yep. It makes it easier for the other person.
Yeah. Next, identify which of the categories you want to connect on. We want to introduce to you this concept of these types of connections, because there's just so much facility in our ability to be connected because of it. And pass me the freebie. Oh, right. I was supposed to say this. Okay. We're still learning. So if you look at the descriptions below in the video, you will see a link to my website. You will see, that feels obscene when you do it. You will see links to where you can go to the website and sign up. And just, you put in your email, It's all free. And then I can just email you this freebie that I've been working on, truth be told, way too long for something that's actually for this. But I wanted you guys to have something that was really high quality.
It is really high quality. And thank you, Talia Lazarus.
Thank you, Dr. Talia Lazarus, with using her amazing skills on sharpening this up. And every edit, she's like, make this sharper. So hopefully this is at a pretty good place. But you will see here that there are the 5 categories of connection. And they are, will you read off the list?
I will. They are emotional, playful, sexual, intellectual, and logistical.
Step 3 is pick a thing to do and do the thing. We're going to go through each of the different types and give you some examples because most people don't have their lives organized like this. All right, emotional connection. When you're wanting to connect emotionally, you're wanting to feel like your feelings are being expressed, like you know what each other's feelings are, you're mirroring each other, you're commiserating, you're engaging, you're sharing. You feel things together. Maybe you need to grieve together. Maybe you need to celebrate together.
Like your partner or the relationship has space for an understanding of whatever you're feeling at that point in time.
Yeah. Like once I came home and I was like, I'm so uncontained. And he literally came and like put his hands over my head and held me. And I was like, that's what I need. I needed to physically be contained. It was wonderful. To be that holding space or to just experience, like, you know, there's a reason why people put laughter up at the top of most desirable traits. It's needing someone to laugh with.
Yes.
Emotional words. Say something true. Say something kind. Say something that describes what you're feeling. Say something that describes what you feel about your partner. Say something that you appreciate about your partner. I spend most of my life just complimenting him because my heart just gets so full with this kind of energy where I'm just like, you're this and you're that. And And in the beginning, he was like, you have low standards. Now he's like, no, your standards are cuckoo high. And I just can't believe you like me this much. And I'm like, well, I can't believe you like me this much. And we have this moment of connecting with each other. We call it emanating, when your heart and your whole being is just like glowing towards the other person.
And filled with love.
And connection and presentness. Presentness is a really important one for emotional actions.
Being in the moment.
Right. Or if I'm like, hey, today I'm feeling a little bit sad. A lot of time what people really get tripped up is if you're having an intense, strong emotion and you're going around your day and you have not told your partner, you're going to act differently and they won't know how to interpret you. And you're going to be like, I'm upset. I'm sad. Why is he being so cheerful? Why is he not being nice to me? Why is he teasing me so much? You know, because he has no idea. And this is where the communication part comes in, because you have to actually communicate these kinds of connections. But, you know,
communicating enlists the other person as a resource,
right?
Like the more I know about what problem you have, the better I'm able to help you solve it.
And I think also you can go to your partner and say, I'm feeling something. I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling off. I'm feeling blech.
Because oftentimes, like, you are very well able to recognize and label your own emotions. For me, sometimes I'll feel something negative, usually, because I think I'm pretty good at labeling my positive emotions. And I won't be able to say what it is. So sometimes I'll come to you and just say, I'm feeling something. What is it? You know, help me understand it.
So emotional actions is actually one of the lists that I am most proud of our relationship. I think that this is something that we excel in. And whenever I tell people something from this list, they're like, oh, what a great idea. Because it's really incredibly simple. So one example of emotional connection is literally, if we're walking by each other, we stop to hug. It's so easy. And it takes a few seconds, but after that, you just feel so much closer.
So that serves both an emotional sort of cognitive purpose of being soothing, but it's also like hugs are physically good for your body. Like they reset you, they calm your
nervous system down.
Yeah.
You can also walk into a room and smile. I will sometimes walk across and just look at him until he notices me, or say, look at me, and then smile. And you just hold a smile for a few seconds and you make eye contact with each other and you already feel closer, you know? There's other things like crying together. The first time we cried together was for 45 minutes at the end of The Last of the Mohicans, which is a movie. You can write sweet notes to each other. You can write texts. A lot of people do cute text emojis or send pictures to each other.
Do things that are emotionally meaningful to you, right? Again, whatever suits you and your personality.
And whenever we would move, I would go to the grocery store and he would come with me because I like his company. And then he would get really bored because anytime I went to a new store, I wanted to look at every single item and look at all the labels, which now saying it seems insane. But that way I learned the whole store. I learned what I liked. And then shopping becomes super fast now. And I was like, oh, well, he is clearly not having fun. Every few aisles, I stop and hug him and emanate. And back in the day, we used to dance. And that was him humoring me because he's not a weirdo in public.
I mean, I think we've danced in the store within the last 2 months, 3 months.
Yes,
So I don't know if that's really back in the day.
Yes, that's true. I think because before all my
I
worst injuries, I was better at it. I could do more things.
I think the last time we danced in a store was a Sephora. So you're just shopping in different places.
Yeah, right. It was dancing in Walmart or dancing in
HEB.
HEB and Fresh Grocer. And Fresh Grocer was the new campus off the University of Pennsylvania. UPenn had this grocery store and they would play like fun music. And I was like, what's wrong with people? Why are people not dancing in the store? So I would be like, hey, dance with me. And he's not, I'm extra, but he is still a theater person. He's never made me feel too extra. It is fantastic. It has been so liberating. All right. Emotional connection. You know, that actually is a way. I think for those of us who feel extra, when people have shame about any part of their personalities and your partner likes that about you, you feel connected to them. It is much more connecting.
Well, then also what we were doing just now, we were telling the story of our couplehood. That's a great way to feel emotionally connected to each other.
Yes. Yes. And our stories aren't the same. We tell them differently, but we mostly agree with each other's versions. Okay, I agree with them.
That makes it sound like we disagree a lot. I think our versions are pretty close.
Yeah, no. Actions. I love this part. Cuddles, hugs, massages, feet rubs.
Playing with someone's hair.
You know, like we're normally super, I mean, I guess we're still being touchy-feely, but like we use each other's bodies to calm each other down. Occasions for physical affection. One of my favorites is when someone is doing the dishes. Mm-hmm. Like people will focus on when Paul is doing the dishes or I'm cooking. If I cook, he does the dishes. And it's really fun, you know, when you're not overheated to, you know, like just incorporate affection throughout your day. And that sense of I'm desired, I want to connect with you. And I do not mean sexually. Sexually can happen. We'll talk about that. But I even just mean like how you would with a little child. You're like, oh, you're so cute. You know, like he is so cute. Okay. So that is our rundown of how you do emotional words and actions to connect. And then you're more connected emotionally. Before we do the next category, I just want to remind you all to like and subscribe this channel. This way, YouTube will know to let you know when our videos are up.
And if you're not sure how to subscribe to a YouTube channel, like my mother-in-law, YouTube has helpfully provided a video for you describing how to subscribe to a YouTube channel. So just search, how do I subscribe to a YouTube channel?
Next category is playfulness. When we started dating, a month before we started dating, I came up with this list I'm really proud of qualities I want in a spouse, which I will talk about later. But the one thing that was not on my list, which was a glaring error, was playfulness. And Paul completely opened up my world of playfulness. Even though I was raised in a playful house.
You were pretty playful.
You know, my mother is a puppeteer. We were constantly making up games. But somehow I hadn't thought of it in like relationship context in the same way. And Paul slowly indoctrinated me into the world of gaming and tabletop gaming.
Video games and board games.
And board games. I used to cry And I would be like, I don't know what these words mean. What's a deck? What's a discard pile? What are you saying? And I made it through. I've even won a tournament. And we will very much sacrifice a clean, organized house for playtime.
We have very much sacrificed.
Yeah. Because for us, that's more important. For you, it might be different.
And it's more restorative for both of us.
Yeah.
Right? Going back to the idea of you.
And then we'll clean.
And the couple, like the equilibrium that we have with regard to playing versus household chores is one that works for both of us.
Yeah.
And
all right. So the list for playfulness includes laughing, watching comedies together, watching movies together, watching shows together, doing things that are silly. You know, a lot of people I know like to send animal sounds to each other or silly emojis or videos. For a lot of people, it could be, you know, like wrestling or playing tag or doing like outside games together, you know, going and playing tennis, going and, you know, bike riding together. There's just so many ways to feel like we are playing together in the world. And a lot of people, if you have a complex trauma background, that is, if you have been hurt by people who were supposed to protect you, parents, teachers, bosses, relationship partners, caregivers, then this category is going to be especially difficult because you will have learned that in order to survive the trauma or the chaos, you had to sacrifice playfulness in order to, you know, focus on other things. So it might, I see this with patients where they're like, well, I have to do my to-do list. And they learned, well, if I don't do these things, no one will do them. Things will become, you know, the house is a mess, everything's gone wrong. And it's like the part of you that's still a child is thinking, okay, I have to keep the whole system running. And playfulness requires a calming down. It requires ventral vagal energy. It requires a sense of coziness. And so a lot of people with complex trauma have underdeveloped play abilities because it was never safe to play as a child. And now is a wonderful time to learn how to be more playful. And you start with structured play, things that there are rules. Board games are fantastic. And you pick something that seems easy enough and has a theme that you like. And you actually like the textures of what you're doing.
Or board games are pretty complicated. You could do something like Slap or, you know, really simple card games too, like Steam card games.
I'm gonna veto Slap for complex trauma. You know, speed. Some people like speed games. Some people don't. But there's lots. You know, you can draw together. You know, there's lots of different ways to play and do things that are about exploring where you're in charge as a couple, and it just improves quality of life. I mean, that's at the heart of being an emotional billionaire.
I mean, the corollary to all the things you're talking about is when you were doing these things, the natural setup, the sort of natural equilibrium of these activities that we're talking about is you're letting your barriers down. You're focusing on the other person. You're being attentive and attuned to the other person. And that is just naturally conducive to feeding the relationship, to strengthening the bond between you and your partner. Right?
And it's exactly why people use dancing as a metaphor for relationships. Dancing as another activity.
Yep.
Because you're reading each other, you're attuning to each other, and you start to feel like that team feeling. Mm-hmm. And to be able to have your body be in that relaxed pleasure mode when you're playing is restorative as a human. It's restorative in your relationship, you know, and like bringing the playfulness, you know, like as therapy. Well, I remember a colleague once saying to me, Arit, it sounds like you like therapy fun. And I was like, isn't therapy fun? Aren't you laughing together? I'll pull up clips to make people laugh. 10 seconds of laughter, 3 seconds of laughter at the beginning of a session or even the middle or the end can shift someone's mood entirely. And then you can get into deeper emotional things. Don't underestimate the power of laughter. But this leads us into the next category, which is connected to playfulness, I'm going to say, if it's done well, which is to connect sexually. And this one, I think, of all the categories, gets talked about the most in the context of one person wants to connect through sex and the other one wants to connect through emotions. And people very frequently get stuck. Well, I need this one first, or I need that one first. Like for years, I've been saying, can we please just record this?